into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello! Welcome, SVU fans, to the AFTERBUZZ After Show for Law & Order Special Victims Unit. I'm your host, Yael Tygiel. If you have not already, go to youtube.com/AFTERBUZZ-TV, hit subscribe, go to iTunes, go to SoundCloud, hit subscribe there as well. Don't miss a single episode. Tweet at us along with the show. That's right, we're live on YouTube, using the hashtag ABTVSVU. Those are our letters. I'm your host, Yael Tygiel. You can tweet at me during the show. I have the computer open at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. I am joined by the fabulous and gorgeous and wonderful Lauren Salaun.
Thank you.
Lauren Salaun Ward, sorry.
Oh, yes. You guys can just keep calling me Lauren Salaun. We'll keep it simple. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Lauren Salaun, LAURENSALAUN.
Awesome. Before we jump into the plot of this week, remembering we are going to give you our advisory and a hotline. Guys, especially this episode, I say that every week. Every episode is usually a very dark and important topic. And it's something that is very serious. And sometimes when it gets real dark and serious, we can't handle it and we make awful jokes. So please understand, forgive us if we don't mean to offend anybody. And if anybody is in trouble, especially this week with the trans issues, we have a hotline for you.
Yeah, so we've got the Trans Lifeline hotline number. That's 877-565-8860. That's, again, the Trans Lifeline hotline, 877-565-8860.
Thank you, Lauren.
You're so welcome.
This episode, I sobbed multiple times.
I almost cried too. I was watching it in studio and there were people around and I'm like getting teary and misty and a little sniffly, and had I been at home I would have just let it happen.
I was at home and actually sobbed multiple times. I sobbed when the apology note.
Yeah, that one didn't quite do it
Oh
for
my
me.
God. The picture of her face crying with the eraser on the tears.
So cheesy.
No, erasing her tears. I'm sorry, that was absolutely beautiful. I
Poetic.
bawled. Oh my goodness. And then the hands was cheesy.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. And I also cried at the end when we got the verdict.
Oh, yeah. When he was testifying, Darius up there on the stand and speaking, that's what started me. And I'm like, no. And then dad and like...
Yeah.
And then the sentencing and stuff. I was just angry, tears.
Yeah, it starts when he starts testifying and through the end.
Oh, yeah. You're like,
yeah.
The whole time.
Oh, my goodness. Heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
So the story, let's get into it real quick. Okay. We have two kids. We have Avery and we have Darius. Guys, has anyone else noticed? Darius.
I didn't. I was like, what does that even mean?
For the real SVU fans.
Oh, burn.
Yeah. Remember when Luda, Mr. Ludacris, was on the show?
Luda.
He played Darius, who is the revealed to be the half-brother of Finn's son. Guys, his name was Darius. They're just, it's a murderer. He's black. Let's name him Darius.
I mean...
Did they run out of names? He could be named anything.
Anything else.
No, but
True.
any name.
Yes.
Sean.
Yeah.
Peter. Jeremy. I'm going to just name boy names.
Keep naming.
I'm out. Jump in. I'm out of boys' names. Eric.
Chris.
Jonathan.
That's probably good.
All right. Okay. So we have Darius, who's with his friends, and we have Avery. That's her name. I keep wanting to say Leela because that's the story that it's similarly based on. But so Avery is a trans girl who has accepting parents, goes to a private school. Her parents were so cute. Those boots were really cute.
Yeah.
Her mom being like, careful with the heels in the grass.
Girl, see ya.
Yeah. I was like, I want those boots. I really want those boots. Anyway, she's a photographer. Yeah.
I did feel like the opening was a little cheesy. I completely get what they were doing there. You know, like two young kids that have good lives. You know, they're like in fine situation. Here are their lives. They're getting ready to go to school, like paralleling it. I liked that. But I think the music, the way it was shot felt was weird for SVU.
Oh, yes.
And the music seemed a little cheesy. Like I felt like we were like in a skincare commercial.
It reminded me actually of the first episode with Lewis, when we met Lewis, because we saw people like celebrating their Sunday.
Okay.
Right? We had that scene of Olivia and Brian like, oh, do you want to go to the museum? And then we had Rollins in the park, and then we saw Lewis doing his thing where he burns off his fingers. But like that's
Sundays.
Right. Sundays. But it was shot the same way.
Yeah.
It felt very like, we're trying to set this up for you, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't. It was a little cheesy. Like I get what they were doing, and it was like fun and bubbly, skip to school, but it was a little too much of that.
We see Darius's life, and he lives with his sister and his mom. His mom is at work. She has multiple jobs. I want to point this out because I think that it was a something. You don't agree with me. We talked about last episode some trans icons, and somebody in the comments reminded us of Jazz. Jazz Jennings is a YouTuber who has a reality show now called I Am Jazz, mirroring I Am Kate. And Jazz is a teenager, a preteen, just went to high school. I don't remember. I watched an episode. Anyway, on the fridge at Darius's house, there's an apple and it says Jazz. And I'm going to assume that his sister is not a jazz dancer. That's my assumption.
But her name
could be Jazz.
Could be Jazz.
I'm going to doubt it.
I'm gonna look it up while I mean we can move on, but I'm gonna look it up while we're here.
So anyway, we got these two kids. The situation is that Avery is on the bridge taking photos. Darius and his boys come by, see her, are confused by her, and instead of like a normal person talking to her, they start kind of harassing her.
Yeah.
It turns into a struggle. She falls off the bridge, and I thought was dead.
Me too.
I'm glad she wasn't.
Well,
shush. I'm glad she wasn't because of that thing that happened I liked.
All the stuff happening up until that point.
Yeah. So she gets taken away. The cop trying to like find the right terms to use. It's not a girl, it's a boy, but it's a girl.
Yeah.
He was pushed. She was pushed. Like. That was an interesting because that brings us to it's relatable to the real world.
Right. I think they did a really good job of putting this episode together.
Yeah.
With the differing kind of perspectives and like histories that each person brings to the situation. Like that police officer is like, this is clearly new for him and not something he's used to, but he's like, oh, okay, I'm trying to figure out how do I phrase this, and that's not the right pronoun to use. I should say it that way. So I like that they did that. You know, he's stumbling over how to phrase it and what to say, and I think that was a good little thing to throw in there. Especially
because we had the same situation where we saw different experiences with the different boys and their parents, where the one woman being like, well, she was in a skirt.
Yeah.
And the other one being like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like showing us that people come from different places, which I definitely need a reminder, and we'll talk about why that is later. And then Olivia pointing out that like it doesn't matter who this child was.
Right.
This child was pushed and
it doesn't matter why that kid was wearing a skirt. What matters is what happened.
Which is, again, I mean, an SVU thing all the time. It doesn't matter what she was wearing. She wasn't asking for it.
Right. It's not, don't blame that situation on what you decided to do.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Go for it.
Sister's name, Tanya.
Okay, so I was right.
So Jazz, we don't know.
So I was right.
So Jazz is just thrown in there.
Thank you. I think that was reference to Jazz.
Cool.
That's my assumption.
Look at you, so sharp.
Sleuthing.
Yeah, observant.
Observant. We'll talk about the observant. For those listening, I shook my ring finger. Anyway. Well, because we have people listening and they don't see me.
Oh, yeah.
They don't see me being silly. Okay. So we have this case, and we find out that Darius just was trying to be a tough guy in front of his friends.
Yeah.
He feels awful.
Yeah,
He
I mean,
really
they
does.
were being
Yeah.
little punks for sure, but
They're being dumb.
They're dumb teenage kids. Like, that's not that weird,
Surprising.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
you know, or surprising. Yeah.
What bothered me the most were the people at the scene shouting, "Hit her!"
Yeah.
Like, what?
That obnoxious little girl
what
recording
world
it.
do you live in?
Yeah, and then everyone just bolts when that happens, except the tourists with the selfie stick.
Yeah. Well, because
Like-
they're adults. Everyone
Yeah.
else, I was like, what is this park that's full of youth?
And obviously, these episodes are pulled from things that really do happen, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff happens all the time. Where someone, you know, you don't want to get involved because you don't want to
Right.
yourself get beat up or involved in the fight or whatever's going on, or you know, you're afraid you're going to get in trouble too if something happens. But like, oh gosh, stand up for people.
And I hated seeing those people just watch.
Mm-hmm.
It was so obnoxious and just shouting and videotaping. Do something.
Yeah.
If you see something, say something, people.
I think you can actually get in real trouble. Were we talking about this last
No.
week? If you record something, like some sort of crime or something happening, and you're recording it instead of actually doing something to maybe help out or call the police, I think there's something.
I know that some
that you can
places
get-
have laws like that.
Right.
I know the series finale of Seinfeld deals with what's called the Good Samaritan law, which is if you observe someone getting a crime commit and you don't do anything, then you can get fined or arrested or something. Like, that was the whole premise of the series finale of Seinfeld.
But I think that's, you know, I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
But I think that's a real thing, which it should be. I mean, yeah, it's not your responsibility, but if you're going to whip out your phone and record it to tweet it or
but
share it on Facebook.
But also, like, you're recording yourself shouting "puncher." Like, what?
Yeah, incriminating yourself.
Yeah, idiots.
Instigating the whole situation.
Anyway, so Darius feels awful and makes this beautiful apology art, which
Well, and even before the apology art, you know, when Finn talks with him at the library and stuff, and they're going to get him, and he's like, "Yes, sir," you know, he's so polite and
He's a
just
good
so
kid.
remorseful, and even his teacher is like, "Oh, and you know, he's a good kid. He probably went here to think," and he's
Right.
reading, you know, like, oh, my heart just hurts for him, sweet little kid.
So when Avery's looking at the notes and is like, did you tell him that I like graphic novels?
I love that part. I'm like, best friends.
No, at that moment I went, I ship this. I ship this. And of course, at that moment they decide, you know what we should do? Let's kill her.
I know.
Oh my God.
And okay, I'm sorry, but I was so suckered this episode because I'm like watching and I'm like, they're dealing with such a big issue and look at how it's going. This is gonna have such a good like lesson and like it's gonna end great. Who am I? Is this the first episode I've ever seen of SVU?
Apparently you don't know who Ludacris played.
And so yeah, when she dies, I'm like, what? I was shocked. And I'm like, Lauren, what the hell?
Yeah,
Get it together.
have you
I'm
never
not
seen the
surprised.
show?
I'm not surprised. Of course, they're gonna fluff it up a lot and then like pull my heart out.
Of course
the rest
they
of the
are.
episode.
When we thought she died and she didn't, that was the sign that she was going to die.
It's called foreshadowing.
Yeah. Anyways, so she's sadly dead. We have this memorial service, and I want to let everybody know, give a shout out, I guess, to Bianca Lee, who played Dr. Sandow, the therapist. That is a very well-known trans actress. And I remember watching it and going, oh, so that's all? They're going to give us one? They're going to give us one actual trans person in the show? All right,
Which,
I'll
hey,
accept
at least
it.
they did that.
And the parents, Avery's parents, I read, are played by Broadway stars that are a real life couple.
Oh,
Yeah, just fun facts.
that's fun.
That's all. All right, so we have Carisi also dealing with trying to wrap his head around this.
Reese is such a dumb puppy.
He's such a dumb puppy. But this scene with him and Rollins felt to me like they were going, hey, audience, we understand that you may be confused. Let us explain. And the way that it's explained is so like kind of a one line like, well, when you were a 15-year-old boy was what would have made you wear a skirt. Only if you really felt it. And now you understand. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Right?
I do feel like that was very spelled out for us, like, you know.
But it was spelled out in a way that didn't spell it out.
Yeah. She's like, gender identity and sexuality are different things.
Okay, elaborate, because people don't seem to know that.
Right.
People really, I mean, as we remember from the Caitlyn Jenner interview with Diane Sawyer, right? She kept repeating it because she wanted to make sure the audience understood it. Diane Sawyer kept saying, so are you gay?
Right.
To make sure that the audience understood that these are two separate things.
Yeah. And being like who you identify as and what gender you identify as doesn't say that means I'm going to be attracted to the opposite sex once I'm that gender or because I'm that gender.
And it's something that I think one of the best sayings that said a lot about this is one that I remember first hearing on Glee, is it's not about who I go to bed with, it's about who I go to bed as.
Yep. I remember that line.
Yeah, that's a great freaking line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that I feel like could have been...
Did Beast say that?
Yes.
Beast? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is a better analogy that could have... Then
would you have worn a skirt?
Yeah.
Just for attention? Yes. Guys do that kind of stuff like on Halloween and ridiculous skits. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not that like crazy.
I mean, also like nowadays, everyone cross dresses once in their life. Kilts are the best. Someone's gonna get mad at us about comparing skirts and kilts.
I wasn't saying that kilts are cross dressing for the record.
Yeah. Let's clarify.
They're masculine skirts.
I love kilts. What was it? I got distracted by the kilts now.
Kilts.
All right, performances.
Scottish.
I want to give out some names for amazing performances. I lost it.
Okay, good to know.
Adrienne Seymour, who plays Cindy on Orange Is the New Black. Amazing performance as Cheryl McRae, the mother.
So good. And so different from how we see her on Orange Is the New Black. So it's nice.
First off, her voice never raised above this.
No, she was such a calm mom.
Which is the opposite of her character on Orange Is the Black. It was amazing. Such an amazing performance. Also, the boy who played Darius, Dante Brown, his testimony, it was just
such
beautiful.
A little sweetie.
Yeah.
I mean, after being kind of a jerk punk.
Yeah. And, of course, Christopher Dylan White, who played Avery Parker. Amazing. Also wonderful. That said, girl, tweeze your eyebrows. That was real frustrating.
I know. I'm like, the shoes, we've got the outfit, the fun eyeshadow, every appearance.
A lot of makeup.
A lot of makeup. But, yeah, those brows, come on.
Girl.
Brow game not on fleek.
No.
Oh, I can't believe I just said fleek.
Yep. These are the kind of jokes we make on a serious episode. Anyway, so we get to the trial, and we're trying Darius as an adult, and the question is why? Because there's no question of whether he did it or not. It's kind of a question of why he did it.
Yeah.
And we get an appearance from Liv's psychiatrist. Love that guy. And we get Avery's father's testimony, and we get all these different perspectives, and it comes down to he's guilty and he's going to jail. And it was heartbreaking.
And I'm like, even in my notes I wrote, because I'm like, oh, the judge is totally gonna side with him. Look at her, she is tearing up too. I'm tearing up. She's sympathetic to him. Like, this is great. Like, Avery's parents are wanting it to, Avery would have forgiven him, and yes, this is awful, but like, here's what we want, and we're the victims of this situation.
And a message of compassion.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And I even was like, oh, if this had been a jury, I would have been really worried about the outcome, like prepping for it to have been a good outcome, and then it wasn't.
You were real sad.
I was very frustrated. I should have seen it coming. Again,
I want to say that when the DA, the guy from House, Robert Sean Leonard, that's his real name, when he was talking to Darius, he was tearing up. He looked like he was about to cry. Yeah. And he definitely, I mean, all right, let's discuss the issues here, right? This kid did pick on a trans girl because she was trans.
Yes.
And although it was not malicious, and it was 100% out of ignorance.
Right. And getting in a scuffle like that, you know,
Yeah.
he didn't go over there and attack him and throw him over over the
Yeah.
the bridge, but obviously
Right.
Darius going over there, that's how that ended up. And
Yeah.
had he not, it wouldn't have
Right.
happened. So it's really tough, you know, because it was, you can't exactly say it was an accident, but it wasn't like an attack, you know,
Right.
like that.
Where do you think Darius should have gone free?
No.
Okay.
I think he should have been found guilty, but I don't think his sentencing should have been that firm. I get and respect the need to have those kind of, you know, principled cases and like, you know, make an example out of a situation because we want to end these sorts of things down the road. And that, sucky for this kid, but that's what he did. We're going to look at it pretty much black and white, and there we go. But I don't think you can look at everything black and white, and a judge has to use discretion. And obviously, like she even said, you know, she's weighing the issue, but I think they were way too harsh with sending him to juvie for 3 years and then 7 years in prison.
Yeah.
Like that's his whole adolescence and turning into an adult and stuff. And so that's not setting him up for success.
Yeah.
For his life. So I wish that, yes, they would have found him guilty because he was guilty of it, even though he's a good kid. He made a mistake. And even if you're a good person, you make a mistake, you have to be responsible for what happens. But I wish the sentencing hadn't been as harsh.
Yeah, it was really hard because you watch it and you go, I understand what he's trying to say. He was stupid. He did something stupid. And I understand what they're saying, that you did something stupid, a woman died, you should be punished. And so I'm sitting there going, I'm so glad that this isn't part of my life, because I don't know what I would do. That said, from a TV standpoint, I really believe, this is going to sound so weird, I believed when he was going to be arrested, when they came to the house and he was going to be arrested, it was going to be discovered that he killed himself. That's what I thought was going to happen. And that he left a note, and that maybe throwing in just a reaching there, throwing in that he was
like
gay.
Such a heavy episode. Woof.
I mean,
it was already.
It was a heavy episode, and it should be heavy.
Yeah.
It's a serious issue, and this could sound awful and weird coming out of my mouth, but I wish it had gone that way, because this way I feel like no one got justice. You know what I mean? Yeah. Avery didn't get justice because she, I believe, had forgiven him, or had halfway forgiven him.
She's like, I love graphic novels.
And I shipped them.
I know. I wish he had gotten like 1 to 2 years juvie.
Right.
You know, that's going to be really sucky.
Yeah.
And no fun. And I bet you're going to do a lot of thinking in there and never do that again. But it's also not going to probably mess you up for the rest of your life. Which, not to say that being in prison will completely ruin your life for the rest of your life, but it's not an easy thing to go through or rehabilitate from.
Yeah, and we see that this kid isn't living a life as privileged as Avery was, right? His mom, he's got just a mom, and there's, you know, violence in his background. He's raising his sister. He's now not going to finish high school, going to juvie, then going to go to prison, and then come out. What is he going to do with his life? Like, you know how hard it is for
a kid that has...
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in there, but it's a kid that has promise, too.
Right.
You know?
It's a good
Aside from
kid.
this issue, has good manners and is responsible to be taking care of his sister. It shows that he's a talented artist.
Right.
And, you know, isn't doing badly in school. So, you know, you wish that they take those things into consideration, because I forget exactly how they said it, but he's not one of those people to...
He's not a thug.
Yeah, not a thug to, like,
said.
lock away, which, like, frankly, sometimes you're like, yeah, let's put that person away for a little while.
Right.
Better out of, you know, the public, but not one of those situations.
And it's tough, because it's true that transgender abuse is so prevalent. And they have to set a precedent, and it's tough. What a tough episode.
Yeah.
Before we go on, do you have one?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, had it been like an adult situation, I don't think I'd have a problem with with it. But that they did it with kids.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who's tuning in. Guys, we clearly love the show. I clearly love it more than Lauren.
I know, sorry.
And Isabel couldn't make it because I was pissed at her. That's not true. She'll be back next week. Calm down. So usually there's 3 of us, and we clearly love the show, and we're doing this because we want to. We want to talk about the show.
It's so fun.
Yeah, we want to talk about these issues. We want to make awful, awful jokes about how that girl needed to do her eyebrows. And we do it for you guys. We ask you to do some very simple things for us. Go on iTunes, hit subscribe. That way you don't miss a single episode. And leave us a comment and a rating. If you like us, that's 5 stars. If you don't like us, that's 4 stars. I promise the other stars do not work. I like your head shaking, like, incorrect, they don't work.
Vanna Whiting.
Yeah. So I have some reviews. I promise people that's what we'll do. Yes. That's what you get for writing them.
Let's hear them.
All right. Share500 gave us a review in August, and I think you deserve this reading anyway.
Yeah, because we were on hiatus for a while.
That's not our fault. 5 stars. I'm a huge fan. I love the team. Happy face. Thank you, Share500.
Yeah.
And horror fan, I speak English sometimes. Horror fan 24/7 also gave us a 5-star review. Love you guys! ! I've just discovered you guys in this podcast. Just so you're aware, we're girls. After just listening to one podcast, I'm hooked. Y'all, it's Yael. Y'all are very in-depth and also make me laugh. Keep up the great work! !
Oh, thanks, it's horror fan
24/7. We are girls, and my name's Yael.
Stop.
I'm the worst. Yeah, so if you leave us a comment on iTunes, that's right, iTunes, we read them on the air. Mm-hmm. Correct.
I love that.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about trans issues and Leila Alcorn.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, Leila Alcorn, her death went viral. She was 17 and she commits suicide and wrote a Tumblr suicide note. And she scheduled it. This is the most like horrifying and heartbreaking part of this. She scheduled this suicide note and said in it, like, if this is posted, that means that I've killed myself, because otherwise I would have stopped it. And it's explained that her family was very, very religious, and that she told them that she was a girl. She was raised, according to Wikipedia, in a conservative Christian household in Ohio. At 14, she told her parents that she was trans, and they refused to accept her as a woman. At 16, she wanted to go undergo transition treatment, and instead of allowing her parents sent her to a Christian-based conversion therapy, which was supposed to convince her to reject her gender identity and accept the one she was given from birth. After that, she revealed that she was attracted to males. Her parents removed her from school and took her off of social media, so she had no one to talk to. She said in her suicide note that loneliness and alienation were the key reasons that she decided to kill herself, and she blamed her parents. And it was one of the most heartbreaking suicide notes and stories to go viral, and the media attention, the celebrities found it and it went viral. And so this story, we talked about it a little bit last year, and it inspired this episode, which also was around the same time that Caitlyn Jenner had her interview with Diane Sawyer. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep it together because Leila Alcorn's story really gets to me.
I can't even imagine how awful that must be, to have nobody in your family and the people that you love and who are supposed to love you not support you at all. And
then take away your access to other people who could.
But then, like, 17 years old, like, and it's selfish or unreasonable to be like, just hold out, you're almost 18 and then go live your life.
Yeah.
But you just...
I know.
You just, Yeah. It's such a shame.
It's so heartbreaking. And this is the thing that we had talked about a little bit before the show, about this episode, about hearing about kids and seeing people who haven't been exposed to trans people before. So I grew up, we're going to get real personal today.
Yeah, let's talk. Get to know us today.
Get to know us, guys. I grew up at a school that was full of trans kids. Like, I actually went to school with a minimum of 5 trans kids.
Yeah.
which, thinking about the fact that some people have never met a trans person in their life, it's crazy that I know that many, that I went to high school with that many people.
Yeah, and I mean, my high school, and the funny thing is, we went to high schools like maybe an hour away from each other in Northern California, and I can't think of any trans people that went to my high school. I'm sure there were, but not any, I don't think openly, but we had a handful of gay and lesbian students, and I don't think, I mean, from what I knew and remember, it wasn't like that big of a deal. No one was like getting beat up for being gay or anything like that. But I don't know that I knew any trans people in high school that I was aware of.
At my high school, the kids that we had all begun transitioning or started living their life in the gender that they meant to be, that they wanted to be. And so we had trans kids, but I guess if you didn't know them, you wouldn't know, right? So there was a boy who, because I knew him for years and I knew him before, so I was aware. But I think that school was aware because, he got to use different bathrooms and they took care of him. But I don't think the other students were aware unless they knew him.
Right.
So just the idea that like people, to me, it's really hard to think of people who don't understand him, never met people, and to hear Carisi being like, I don't get it. Because I know that a lot of people don't get it, even though they've met people, they just don't get it. And that's okay, because I like to think of it like this, because I am a woman. And I was born a woman. And so I like to think of it like this. I think about it and I go, at any point in my life have I thought I should be a man? That's a simple question you can ask yourself and it'll help you. You know what I mean? Like just like she says to Carisi, like, was there any way that you would have worn a skirt? Lauren, have you ever thought to yourself, I should be a man?
I feel like I'm missing some balls. No.
Well, I definitely feel that.
No, but I'm really good at using like power tools and stuff like that. But
it's not the same thing.
It's one of the bad jokes that we
sorry guys
referenced we make.
I also cannot use power tools. Anyway,
born a woman and am a woman.
Right. So like, that's a simple way to think about it. Imagine that the answer is, oh wait.
Yes, this morning. Yesterday.
Every day
when I
wake up.
a little kid,
It's just so heartbreaking. And at the Emmys this year, when Transparent won.
I was going to say something about that too. Look at us.
Well, I just want to talk about the issues that they brought up. You could talk about that. I want to talk about the issue they brought up. That in many states in the U.S., there are no laws protecting trans people. So in California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and D.C., there are protections that vary. So Nevada bans discrimination in employment, housing, and public accommodations like restaurants, hospitals, and retail stores. Maine covers those and credit and education. At least 200 cities and counties have banned gender identity discrimination. Those cities include Atlanta, Austin, Boise, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Dallas, El Paso, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Louisville, Milwaukee, New Orleans, New York City, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Pittsburgh, and San Antonio, as well as some smaller towns. There are just all sorts of laws, but they're sporadic, right? So in California, you may be protected, but in other places, like if you move out of California, you'd be screwed.
Well, and I think with the episode, seeing that where Avery has been raised in such an accepting and like healthy way with her identity that when she, she's so comfortable with it. And at school, her school that she goes to doesn't seem like anyone cares.
No.
She's got a good friend group. She's like, okay, I see, I'm going to go do some photography in the park.
Yeah.
And
no one said plug your eyebrows. Terrible friends.
Yeah. Come on.
Sorry, guys. Those eyebrows really bugged me.
But then like going out, and not that she should have had her guard up, but then going out into like the real world.
Right.
And I guess, unfortunately, still having to be aware that people might
Yeah.
be uncomfortable with that. And that's not in any way to say that she should change how she behaves or her life or anything like that. And that's okay, but just how different it is. And, you know, in one place or like your school or home, it can be completely acceptable and fine. But then, you know, go to this one park and those people there, it's completely bizarre for them.
There was an interesting article, I can't find it right now, but there was an article where they talked about, like, specifically making it clear that she has this whole safety net, and as soon as she's out of it, she is a huge target.
Right, yeah.
That they made that made it very distinct. And so I have a really interesting statement I wanted to read. So The Advocate, which is, I believe, a gay magazine, asked people in the SVU team if the episode is meant to show a change in direction by SVU to showcase trans characters in a more sympathetic light than it has since 1999. The spokeswoman for SVU has said this to The Advocate. SVU strives to start a conversation and educate viewers on topics that they may not otherwise come to light on television. The show has been telling stories about and with trans characters since its inception. Some storylines that have stood out for me were Fallacy in 2003, where a trans woman is faced with jail time in a male's prison. I definitely remember that one. Identity in 2005, where questions of nature versus nurture in a child's gender identity are put to the extreme test. I believe that's the one with the twins.
I think so. It sounds really familiar.
I think it's the one with the twins, which is played by that one boy who was amazing, and that they were raised as a boy and a girl, and it turns out that the girl was originally born a boy. I think that's that one. And then, and Transitions in 2009, where two parents have vastly different views about the upbringing of their trans child, and I definitely remember that one, I think because it was on recently, so Stabler is a great example. When the show started, Stabler had he struggled a lot with how to identify trans people and how to speak with them, what pronouns to use.
Very brash.
Yeah, he was very, I would say, like the most people, right? Like he represented what most people would be because they're unaware or unfamiliar. And by Transitions, which is, I believe, the episode where it turns out there was a man who was killed in a strip club parking lot, and it turns out that it was later the daughter who was born a son's teacher who did it because she was trans. Do you remember this story? Amazing story. And then the little girl, she was talking about how her dad no longer loves her because the dad loved him as a boy. And Stabler, we see him talk about how if one of his kids came out as trans, he would have a lot of trouble, but he would still do anything because he loved them.
Yeah.
And like Stabler going from the beginning where he made fun of trans prostitutes and like would call them he, she's, to saying to a trans kid, like, I would love my child no matter what. It just would be, I'd have to learn to deal with it. Huge.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing.
So much growth, yeah.
And that's what the show does. The show brings these issues up and is like, let's move it. Let's see how it works and how the world is changing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, and even just, I mean, you mentioned it before with the Emmys, but even just with Jeffrey Tambor winning that award for his role in Transparent, that shows a shift, not just in media and what's on TV. I mean, even though it's an Amazon show, so it's not, but just a big shift in what people are wanting to see and what is becoming more acceptable and what stories are getting told and, how the conversation is moving.
Although I'm really torn about the way the episode ended, and I'm really sad because I definitely shipped those characters like a minute before they killed her. Get really sad when people do that to me. I think this was a great episode. And it got us talking. It got me super emotional.
I know.
Oh my God. This after show got me emotional.
I know, big, heavy show.
So then let's change gears and talk about non-emotional things. Such as there was no baby Noah in this episode, and that was wonderful. No baby Noah. Loved it.
Liv had a new hairstyle.
I hated everything she wore. It didn't work with that hair.
I didn't love the blue thing
with the
dazzling. That was like a mom trying too hard to be cool, and I think Liv is super cool anyway, so it felt a little dated for her wardrobe, but I liked the slick dark hair. I thought it looked sassy.
I think it's too long for like the collars that she had on all those jackets.
Rests on the collar.
It it was weird. I didn't like it. Also, there was no mention of Rollins' pregnancy. Did we forget that that's happening?
Right. It'll probably hit us hard in an upcoming episode and be way too much focus on it. So just you wait. Yeah, you'll get it.
And then the thing that we have been harping on, I think I pointed out last week that Finn is wearing a wedding ring.
Yes.
And it's really distracting because he plays with it when he's in the background.
Right. And apparently, we looked it up, and someone else had blogged about how he was wearing it last season.
We missed it
sometimes
last season.
too, which we missed. And then I Googled what his real wedding ring looks like, and it's the ring that he's wearing on the show.
So someone in costuming should be fired. No, I'm kidding. Don't fire this person.
Don't fire them, but figure it out. Do your job. But also, could it be that there is a very intentional reason why he's wearing his wedding band, and someone's just like, Coco was like, I don't know, laying down the law for some reason, and like, you need to wear your ring. I don't care if Finn's not married. You wear it, and every time you little spin it around your finger, it means you love me or something. Like, you know how actors like do that ridiculous things
you're crazy.
on camera.
You're ridiculous.
No, but how do you forget that you're wearing a wedding band?
And your character's not married?
Yes. For so many episodes and scenes. Like, it's not like one scene. This was the whole episode.
The whole episode, yeah. I really believe that he forgot to take it off and no one noticed. Because...
How long does it take to film one episode? Like a week?
Yeah, but he's not going to take it off. He's married. Like, he just doesn't take it off, right? And so he just forgot. And so it's staying. That's what I think.
Every day he forgot that his character's not married?
Yeah. But I think also, like, I believe...
Yo, T, what's up?
I really believe that your Coco thing is crazy, which is funny.
I don't know. I'm just throwing spitball in here.
And I think also this isn't the type of show to do a, like, mysterious reveal, like...
By the way, Finn, congratulations on your marriage last year.
Yeah, like 2 weeks in, they'll be like... Oh, also, Finn, remember, where are the photos from the wedding? Yeah. Like, we forgot to tell you.
Yeah, it's clearly the most likely scenario is that someone's just forgetting, or he's forgetting, and then the costuming is not noticing it. Because it's his real wedding band from my extensive Google research.
I really love that we did this research for you guys. Yeah. We're crazy.
Like, I don't get it. But so consistently that it's just always there. And next week,
but last week and this week, it was very annoying to see him play with it. Like last week, I pointed out that he was playing with it in the background when Rollins was interrogating Yates.
Which, playing with it, you would think that someone would notice this because they're like, hey, Finn, stop fidgeting with your hands. Yeah. And then he goes, oh, I'm doing it because I'm wearing my wedding ring. Yeah. Oops,
we have to reshoot
Take it off.
No, because then they'd have to reshoot the whole thing.
No.
Anyway.
I don't know.
All right, before...
Yeah, let's get that hashtag SVU ring watch. Let's start that.
I like that.
Do it.
All right, before we head into predictions, I want to remind everybody again of the hotline.
Oh, yes.
Let's do that.
I want to.
Yeah, it is the Trans Lifeline. Go ahead.
877-565-8860, Trans Lifeline hotline. 877-565-8860.
And if you are not a phone user, because, you live in this year, you can go to translifeline.org. That is spelled how you would think it would be. All right, let's head into predictions.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ
These
TV
are party lights in the new studio.
Predictions.
Oh my God, it's pink in here.
I know. It's fun.
Okay, so on the trailer we see a neglected child, a citywide conspiracy. How high does it go? Guest star Whoopi Goldberg.
Stellar performance.
What? Whoopi Goldberg.
I know.
But also the return of Dodds, played by Peter Gallagher's eyebrows. That's his full name, guys. Peter
Lots
Gallagher's
of eyebrows.
I
today.
have an eyebrow
Lots of eyebrow
situation
talk.
going on.
Everybody does, apparently. Eyebrows are really in right now.
Okay. So predictions. There's a neglected kid. I believe, and just based on what we saw in the promo, here's my theory. It's going to be something to do with like foster care system,
Yes,
or ACS, that Whoopi Goldberg is going to be, because we saw her like shredding papers and then going through an office. I think it's going to be like they find this kid and it turns out that like he's been shuffled through the system and fell through the cracks. And Whoopi Goldberg is going to she's like the caseworker, and then it turns out that like it's been hidden and buried, that she was something.
I don't think it would be just about one kid.
Right.
There's the issue. Like, I feel like there's some like big fraud situation linked to it too. Like somehow someone is, like shuffling these kids off somewhere and neglecting them and like taking all the
money,
the support money that you get and like not putting it toward the kids, but it's like a whole organized like crime situation.
But you think that because she says that like the city is at fault. So do you think that it's the city is taking the money, or that it's a person?
Well, if it's her, she's
like
a city employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I almost feel like when Liv says that, the city has blood on its hands or whatever, that it's just like the checks and balances are so lacking there that no one saw it.
I'll also say, speaking of Dodds, a lot of people were letting us know about a casting scoop. I definitely don't have his name, and I know you're gonna all yell at me because I didn't write it down, and I'm sorry. But somebody is joining the cast as Dodd's son.
Oh, okay.
It's casting scoop. You're gonna look it up now so that I don't get yelled at?
I can, but it may take a moment.
All right. Well, while that's being looked up, so we recall Dodds, played by Peter Gallagher's eyebrows. He was the one who was on their case and always yells at Liv. And when she was dealing with baby Noah crap, he was like, "Nah, choose your life. Who cares about your son?" That's how I read it. And I really liked him. And a lot of people also pointed out in the YouTube comments that we talked way back when that Tucker and Liv should get together because there was that weird tension.
Yeah. Those drinks that they always had to talk about cases.
I'm going to be honest.
It was like a stern
I want
attraction.
It so bad.
Me too.
That's a ship I am shipping a lot on
I
this
ship
show.
that too.
Yeah. Did you find it?
Yes, it's loading though. So we're in a brick room, you guys. The reception's not very good. But it's coming.
We're in a basement. Guys.
We're in.
Awesome.
I also think that Whoopi next week we're gonna hate her.
You think we're gonna hate her?
I think so. I want her to give like a devilish performance.
I mean, I'm just really excited that she's on the show. I love when they have big roles. Yeah.
Broadway actor Andy Carl, who has appeared in Jersey Boys.
Yes.
Will guest star as Sergeant Mike Dodds, son of Deputy Chief William Dodds. Eyebrows.
Peter Gallagher's eyebrows. That's his full name, guys. Peter Gallagher's eyebrows. Just like
IMDb it.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds' abs. That's his name. Peter Gallagher's eyebrows. Yeah. I have an entire board on Pinterest that's named body parts.
Oh, dear.
You should all check it out.
Fun facts.
Fun facts about Yael. I got real personal this episode, and we really appreciate you sticking with us while I did that. Thank you so much for joining us. On that note, we will be back next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Isabel will be here.
Yes, she will.
I want to thank you all for tuning in and for joining us and for checking out the AfterBuzz After Show here for Special Victims Unit. Lauren, why don't you tell people where they can find you online?
Well, you guys, you can find me online everywhere. Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all the places at Lauren Salaun. That's LaurenSalaun.
And Lauren Salaun Board.
That is my full name, but you guys can just call me Lauren Salaun if you want.
Yeah.
Sticking with it.
I'm going to keep bringing it up.
I know. That's my internet name still.
It's scaring me. You can find me online at yael.tv. That's YAEL.tv. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest. That's right. Facebook. Really everything at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. And again, we'll be here Thursdays, 4 p.m. Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
I know. He's ready for the noise.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Dun 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 dun.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.